Ramaphosa's resignation is now inevitable. But here is the question nobody is asking. Are we ready to have Mashatile as his substitute? Drop that answer in the comment section right now, because in this video, I am going to show you why Ramaphosa might not be the president of this country by the end of June this year. The dark cloud is here. It is sitting directly above his head. And the man who replaces him, Mashatile, is 500 times worse than Ramaphosa ever was. I will reveal everything. But first, if this is your first time here, please like this video and subscribe, because what you are about to hear is exactly what they do not want you to understand. Let us start with what Malema said outside that court today, and then we will go to the judge herself, and after that, I am going to break down every single thing that happened and what it means for this country for the next few minutes.
Today, the Constitutional Court hands down judgment in an application brought in terms of Section 167, subsection 4E of the Constitution by the Economic Freedom Fighters, the EFF, and the African Transformation Movement, the ATM, to whom I shall collectively refer as the applicants. I start by taking full responsibility for the delay in producing this judgment concerning an extremely difficult matter of great national importance, and I tender my sincere apology to the parties, my colleagues, and fellow South Africans for the inconvenience it has caused. The applicants seek an order declaring as unlawful and irrational a decision of the National Assembly taken on 13 December 2022 to not adopt the report of the independent panel, hereinafter referred to as the report, and refer it to the impeachment committee. This decision was in the context of an impeachment inquiry into alleged violations of the law and the Constitution and alleged serious misconduct by the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, in connection with events that occurred at his private farm. The conclusion is this: the effect of the three judgments is as follows. This court, A, unanimously finds that it has exclusive jurisdiction in respect of the challenge to the validity of Rule 129I. B, by a majority, finds that it does not have exclusive jurisdiction in respect of the challenge to the NA vote. C, by a majority, concludes that Rule 129I is inconsistent with the Constitution and invalid. D, by a majority, concludes that the NA vote is inconsistent with the Constitution and invalid. And E, by a majority, concludes that the report must be referred. Rule 129I permits the National Assembly to terminate the impeachment process at a preliminary stage before a full inquiry can be conducted into whether a ground listed in Section 89, subsection 1 exists. This has the effect of foreclosing full engagement with the merits of the motion, stifling informed debate and undermining the values of accountability and transparency that must inform the National Assembly's processes. It is not sufficient for the National Assembly to proceed directly from receipt of an independent panel report to a vote and thereby suppress an impeachment motion that discloses prima facie the existence of a ground under Section 89, subsection 1. The National Assembly is required to do more than merely table, debate, and vote on such a substantiated motion.
While the ANC is exposed, and we've always told you that the ANC abuses its majority. The people, when they give you majority, they don't give you majority to go and defend crime, to go and defend wrongdoing and corruption. They give you majority to pass laws that are going to be in their best interest, not on the interest of an individual. So this again exposes the ANC. The ANC, leave Ramaphosa himself. The ANC itself has to take a decision whether it wants to be led by a president with this dark cloud hanging over him, a president who's going to be subjected to very rough and thorough questions in the impeachment process, where more things are going to come out. We said to you, for as long as the EFF is alive, Phala Phala will remain alive.
So I'm going to be in that committee because we want to go and see the sofas where the money was there at Phala Phala. Because Phala Phala is a crime scene. We have to visit the crime scene to see what happened in that particular farm where crime was committed. We told them that for as long as the EFF is alive, Phala Phala will never die. And they never believed us. So when you are impeached, comrade, it's not a motion of no confidence. Once we conclude that you have undermined your oath of office, you have committed crime, then we go to Parliament to impeach you. There is no impeach. We take away the salary. Because remember, President is paid for the rest of his life. So we remove you from the office, we take away the salary and all the benefits, including the blue lines. So the daughter Ramaphosa, what takes the rank? So Utoya Villa takes the rank. Because even the status of a former president is taken away. He's no longer a former president. He's just Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. He becomes an ordinary man. Then criminal investigation comes in. Cyril is going to go to prison. The same way Zuma went to prison. He's going to go to prison. Mark my way. I always tell you these things and they come to happen. So I'm telling you now, like I told you before, Phala Phala will never die. I'm telling you now, Ramaphosa is going to jail. There is no way Ramaphosa will not go to jail. Once the impeachment process opens up, the kind of shenanigans that are going to come out of that process, the amount of evidence that is going to come out of that impeachment process, there is no way Ramaphosa will not be arrested. Police must do their job and stop bringing money back here. I saw the provincial commissioner. Ari, Tamotarato Tigo the phone. Look what I paga, look what you don't building. So Thierry Yagan Ibo Haute, Provincial Commissioner Haute, in a responsibility. Wow, Arrestana President Germaleska Vekwa. Arrestana President, we have a criminal. There is no criminal that must be treated with respect because that criminal has undermined the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Today, for sure, all of you can see why they want me in prison. Because if I'm in prison, all of this will not be possible. They want to silence me. They want to silence you by silencing me so that you never get to know the truth. At least I got the truth before I went to jail. At least I opened the eyes of South Africans before I went to jail. All of this went against their plan because we as the EFF have got a giraffe view. We can see how the future looks like. Now it's for Ramaphosa to use his conscience and resign as the president of South Africa and go and face the impeachment. We can't have a president that is doing the work of president and doing the work of impeachment. He must concentrate on one. He can't concentrate on the president. He has to concentrate on impeachment. This goes again to the doorstep of the ANC. They must choose South Africa or they must choose Ramaphosa. The Constitutional Court was very clear. The prima facie exists, therefore it must go to the impeachment. Let's see that story of theirs of step aside. Whether that step aside has got eyes or not. Because facing impeachment is equal to standing in a box in a court of law and being charged, because you are only charged when there is prima facie. Now the panel said there is prima facie, meaning he is charged in Parliament. He has to face the impeachment process. Let's see if the step aside process only applies to certain individuals and doesn't apply to Ramaphosa. We know that it took long for us to arrive here. The Chief Justice has apologized. We accept her apology and we accept her wonderful judgment of this Constitutional Court. So fighters, there are a lot of...
Right. Let me break this down for you. Because what just happened in that courtroom is not complicated. It just looks complicated because of all the legal language. Strip it away, and here is what the court actually said. Remember to like this video. In February 2020, there was a robbery at Ramaphosa's private game farm in Limpopo. The farm is called Phala Phala. The thieves found foreign currency, a large amount of it. The figure that has been reported consistently is 580,000 United States dollars. That is over 10 million rand, sitting in a couch on a game farm in Limpopo, in cash, in dollars. Ramaphosa's explanation was simple. He sold 20 buffalo to a Sudanese businessman named Mustafa Hazem in December 2019. Cash sale, in dollars. The money was stored on the farm, waiting to be processed. Nothing to see here. Move along. Now sit with that for a moment. The president of a country receives hundreds of thousands of United States dollars in cash for a livestock transaction on his private farm. That money is never declared to the South African Revenue Service, never declared to the South African Reserve Bank. Foreign currency brought into this country in a manner that the law requires you to disclose, sitting in a couch. Not in a bank, in a couch. South African law is not ambiguous on this. Transactions in South Africa must be conducted in rand. If you sell 20 buffalo on a game farm in Limpopo, you do not get paid in dollars. Not legally, not without declaration, not without exchange control compliance. You cannot walk into Sandton City and pay for anything in dollars, but somehow dollars can be used to buy buffalo in the Limpopo bush, and stored in furniture, and nobody reports it. That alone is a problem. But the robbery made it worse. Because after the robbery, Ramaphosa did not call the police. He did not pick up the phone and call the Limpopo station commander. He sent his presidential protection unit, his state bodyguards, to investigate a burglary on a private farm. People who have no legal mandate to investigate civilian crime. He turned the state security apparatus into his private cleanup crew. And then, according to Arthur Fraser, former head of the State Security Agency, Ramaphosa called Namibian President Hage Geingob. He reached out to a foreign head of state to help locate the alleged mastermind of the theft, who was believed to be in Namibia. The President of South Africa used diplomatic channels to manage the fallout from a robbery he had not reported to his own police service. That is what the independent panel examined. Led by former Chief Justice Sandile Nkobo, one of the most respected legal minds this country has ever produced. And after examining the evidence, that panel said, prima facie. There is enough here to warrant a full investigation. The President may have violated his oath of office. The President may have broken the law. We are not saying he is guilty. We are saying the question deserves a proper answer. That report landed before Parliament in December 2022, and the ANC, using the parliamentary majority that the people of South Africa gave them to pass laws in the national interest, voted to bury it. They did not engage the merits. They did not test the evidence. They looked at a report from a former Chief Justice that said prima facie wrongdoing exists at the level of the presidency, and they voted to make it disappear. Today, the Constitutional Court said that vote was irrational. That word is doing serious legal work. Irrational does not mean mistaken. It does not mean poorly considered. It means there was no rational basis for the decision. You cannot look at a prima facie finding from an independent panel and then vote to suppress it and call that a legitimate exercise of parliamentary power. The court says you cannot. That vote is void, gone, as if it never happened, and the court went further. They struck down the rule that made that vote possible, Rule 129I, the rule that gave Parliament the power to terminate an impeachment process before the impeachment committee even sat. The court said that rule is unconstitutional, because it created a system where Parliament could decide whether to decide, where the ANC majority could look at a prima facie finding and vote to go home without ever allowing the evidence to be tested. Now, the ANC will try to slow this down. Malema knows it. He said it directly. They are going to try to limit the resources, frustrate the process, run out the clock. They did it before in the ad hoc committee. They withheld forensic capacity. They withheld expert support. They starved the process of what it needed to function. And they will try the same thing again. But here is what is different this time. The ANC does not have a parliamentary majority. They lost it in the May 2024 election. They are in a government of national unity with the DA and other parties. And that changes the arithmetic completely. The impeachment committee will be constituted based on proportional representation. The ANC will have seats, but not control. The DA campaigned on rule of law and constitutionalism. If they now act to protect a man from a court-ordered impeachment process, they hand every single one of their critics exactly the weapon they need going into the next election. And then there is the step-aside rule, the ANC's own policy, the rule they used to force Jacob Zuma out of the party leadership, the rule that says any member facing serious legal proceedings must step aside from leadership positions. Ramaphosa is now the subject of a court-ordered impeachment inquiry. A prima facie finding exists against him. The same standard that was applied to Zuma now sits directly above the head of the man who replaced Zuma. The ANC has two options. They enforce the rule, and Ramaphosa steps aside, which means Mashatile becomes acting president. Or they find a reason not to enforce it, and they confirm in public that the step-aside rule was never a matter of principle, that it was a weapon used against people who had fallen out of favor, that it does not apply when the person being protected is the one who controls the factional machinery. Either way they lose. Either Ramaphosa goes and they get Mashatile, a man who comes with his own cloud of questions, or Ramaphosa stays, and the party is publicly confirmed as an organization that talks about accountability while actively blocking it at the presidential level. And here is the part that the commentator you just heard was pointing at. When the panel report landed in 2022, Ramaphosa considered resigning. His own allies had to talk him out of it. The montage, the factional network around him, had to mobilize to keep him in place. His own conscience was already telling him something in 2022, and now that same report has been sent to the impeachment committee by constitutional order, 3 years later, with more exposure, more scrutiny, more institutional power behind the inquiry. Malema put it plainly, you cannot be president and fight an impeachment at the same time. One of them is going to suffer. A president who is spending his energy managing the fallout from a farm robbery and hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash cannot also be governing a country dealing with unemployment above 30%, load shedding, crime, and an economy that is barely moving. Something gives. And in that scenario, it is always the country that pays the price. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma voted against her own party in 2022. She was the lone voice inside the ANC caucus who said what the ANC was doing was wrong. They called her a traitor. They marginalized her. And today, the Constitutional Court confirmed that what she voted for in 2022 was constitutional. Her conscience was right, and the party was wrong. The question now is whether anyone else in the ANC is paying attention. The country watches a president fighting for himself instead of fighting for them. Or he goes. He resigns before the committee fully convenes. He argues he is stepping aside for the good of the country. He preserves what is left of his dignity. He avoids the worst of the public exposure. And Paul Mashatile steps up. And this is the dark cloud I promised you at the start of this video. Because Mashatile is not a solution. He is a different set of problems in a suit. He is a man built by the same factional networks that built Ramaphosa. He is a man whose name appears in conversations about state capture and political patronage that have never been properly resolved. He is a man who has been in the shadow of power long enough to have accumulated the same kind of obligations and relationships that make accountability impossible. South Africa in 2026 is not choosing between a bad president and a good one. It is choosing between a president who is legally cornered and a deputy who is waiting in the wings with his own agenda. That is the real conversation, and almost nobody is having it. Phala Phala is alive. It was always going to be. Malema said it years ago, and people laughed. Today, the Constitutional Court handed down a ruling that proves the man was right. Not about everything. Not always. But about this, he was right. The resignation of Cyril Ramaphosa is now inevitable. The only question is whether he walks or whether Parliament carries him out. And the country that comes after, with Mashatile at the top, that is the story we need to be ready for. I will break that down in the next video. Subscribe so you do not miss it. And drop your answer in the comment section. Are you ready for Mashatile? Because ready or not, he may be closer to that presidency than anyone is admitting right now. Phala Phala will never die. Will never.
Yeah, the court have ruled. So let's keep watching. The whole case now is becoming more interesting. Is he going to resign or is going to stay? And see what will happen next. Please share your thoughts in the comment section, and thank you for subscribing and thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Thank you.